This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
"6:45, this is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Danushka Madavala, read by Soundi Thavam. The Prime Minister says the current agriculture shortages could be eased if swift action was taken to address the shortages faced by the farmers. Agreement among party leaders about the 21st Amendment. MP Rajitha Senaratne requested the government to facilitate the local production of medicines by only importing the necessary raw materials. The telecommunications tax that was increased recently has come into effect at midnight last night. Litrogas says that there will be no domestic LP gas distribution until further notice. The police have identified more than 5,200 vehicles that have pumped fuel several times a day. In foreign news, the African Union tells Vladimir Putin that hungry Africans are the victims of the Ukraine conflict. And in sports, UEFA apologizes to Liverpool and Real Madrid fans. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe yesterday said the Department of Agriculture is formulating a food security program, and he has established an urban agriculture program in the face of the threat of food shortages. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe held discussions with the country representative of the Food and Agriculture Organization, Wimlendra Sharan, and the United Nations Development Programme Deputy Country Representative Marlene Havig regarding the current food situation in the country. The Prime Minister explained that in view of the threat of a food shortage, a food security plan was being compiled by the Agriculture Department officials. This program is due to be unveiled next month, with the UNDP expressing their support for the initiative. He stated that the biggest issue currently facing the agriculture sector is the fertilizer and fuel shortages. The Prime Minister also elaborated on the urban agriculture initiative that he has established to try and overcome a potential food shortage. The UNDP explained that they were compiling an innovative farming assistance program which would help the farming community overcome the fertilizer shortage. The FAO also explained that donors had stepped forward to assist the country in the urban agriculture program and was hopeful that a successful implementation would see more financial support provided. The FAO also stated that they were drafting a food crisis response plan that can be enacted in Sri Lanka. The Prime Minister explained that within 5 to 6 months, the current agriculture shortages could be eased if swift action was taken to address the shortages faced by the farmers. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe convened a second round of discussions with the party leaders regarding the 21st Amendment to the Constitution. The Prime Minister's media division said a general consensus was reached between all parties regarding several key points. However, the amendment may be subject to revisions based on the Supreme Court determination in regard to the Samagi Janabalawegaya constitutional amendment. SJB MP Rajitha Senaratne requested the government to immediately halt the importation of medicines at high prices and to facilitate the local production of medicines by only importing the necessary raw materials. He called on the government to stop importing medicines that are already being manufactured by the 12 local pharmaceutical manufacturing companies in operation at present. The MP said implementing the procedure will ensure job security of pharmaceutical employees and will also ensure the safety of the local pharmaceutical sector. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
The medical insurance plan that begins at the age of 60. Medi60 from Sri Lanka Insurance.
Litrogas says that there will be no domestic LP gas distribution until further notice. As the current stocks are over, the company urges people not to wait in queues until further notice. The company said that they expect a shipment soon and they hope they can resume distribution in a few days' time. Gas queues and protests demanding gas were seen in many areas in the country yesterday as well. The police have identified more than 5,200 vehicles which pumped fuel several times a day. This was done by the mobile app introduced in this regard. This mobile app is in operation in 1,420 filling stations in the country. The police say that the number of refueling incidents have drastically decreased after introducing this app. A 7-hour water cut will be imposed in Nugegoda and the surrounding areas today. The Water Board said that the water supply will be disrupted from 10 p.m. today to 5 a.m. tomorrow. Thereby, the water supply will be suspended to Athulkote, Pitakote, Baddegana, Mirihana, Madivela, Talapatpitiya, Udamulla, Ambuldenniya, Nugegoda and Pagoda. A water cut will also be experienced from Vijayarama to the 7th mile post on High Level Road, as well as all connected roads from Nugegoda to the Open University in Navala. That concludes local news.
The medical insurance plan that begins at the age of 60. Medi60 from Sri Lanka Insurance. A health insurance plan to honor our most valued elders by the protectors of the nation. We now give our treasured senior citizens access to the very best medical insurance, specially tailored for anyone over 60. What's more, you don't need medical screening to access this policy. And Medi60 covers a wide range of illnesses. Only from Sri Lanka Insurance. Call 0112 357 357.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The Telecommunication Regulatory Commission in Sri Lanka says the telecommunication tax that was increased recently has come into effect at midnight last night. Accordingly, the telecommunication tax will increase from 11.25% to 15%. Accordingly, the telecommunication charges also set to increase. In addition, the Telecommunications Regulatory Commission informed that the overall increase in the value-added tax from 8% to 12% will increase telephone charges by nearly 8%. However, the telecommunication tax will not affect internet tariffs and will increase by 4% based on the VAT revision, and came to you in the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Moving on to Watchlight, the Sri Lanka Ports Authority has introduced a complaint mechanism against fraud and corruption. Accordingly, anyone using the port can use the telephone number 071 641 332. That's 071 641 332 to lodge a complaint through WhatsApp in case of any fraudulence in operations and services in the port in Sri Lanka. Confidentiality of the plaintiff is fully protected. If the complainant wishes, he or she can file his or her grievances anonymously, and came to you in Watchlight. On to a bulletin of world news, making headlines this morning. The African Union tells Vladimir Putin that hungry Africans are the victims of the Ukraine conflict. North Korea assumes leadership of top disarmament group. And Trump-backed celebrity doctor wins Pennsylvania Senate primary. African countries are innocent victims of the war in Ukraine, and Russia should help ease their suffering, the head of the African Union has told Vladimir Putin at a meeting in Russia. After talks in Sochi, Macky Sall said the Russian leader had promised to ease the export of cereals and fertilizer, but gave no details. Mr. Putin denied Moscow was preventing Ukrainian ports from exporting grain. Over 40% of wheat consumed in Africa usually comes from Russia and Ukraine. But Ukraine's ports in the Black Sea have been largely blocked for exports since the conflict began. Kyiv and its allies blame Moscow for blockading the ports, which Ukraine has mimed to prevent a Russian amphibious assault. North Korea has temporarily taken over as head of a top nuclear disarmament forum at the United Nations. It comes as the state was earlier this year accused of testing an intercontinental ballistic missile, which are banned by the UN Security Council. However, it assumed the presidency of the Conference on Disarmament as the position rotates between members. The move sparked immediate criticism of the forum's effectiveness. A number of non-government organizations had urged countries to walk out of the room, a common form of diplomatic protest. While member states did not do this at Thursday's session, some nations sent only lower-level representatives. A Trump-backed celebrity doctor will run as the next Republican senator for Pennsylvania after his opponent conceded the race. Former hedge fund executive David McCormick said he could not make up the wafer-thin deficit in the recount from last month's cliffhanger vote. Fewer than 1,000 ballots had separated the two contenders in the state. Mr. Oz will take on the Democratic candidate John Fetterman, who is recovering from a stroke. Mr. McCormick and Mr. Oz fought each other to a standstill, the vote margin between the rivals falling to within 0.5% automatic recount threshold. Back to the headlines of the world news. The African Union tells Vladimir Putin that hungry Africans are the victims of the Ukraine conflict. North Korea assumes leadership of CHOP disarmament group. And Trump-backed celebrity doctor wins Pennsylvania Senate primary. That concludes this bulletin of world news. And looking at development news, the total revenue earned by all 14 BOI zones and other BOI-related companies last year was around $1,400 million in the first 3 months of 2021, and this year it has increased to around $1,650 million. The Secretary, Free Trade Zone Manufacturers Association, Dhammika Fernandez, said that these big BOI-based companies have not witnessed major drops in orders and the trend is expected to continue, and came to you in development news.
Sports news is brought to you by
Sampath Bank. We present your future.
UEFA has apologized to Liverpool and Real Madrid. Fans caught up in the events around the Champions League final and said it must not happen again. Liverpool fans described heavy-handing, policing, organisational chaos and overcrowding at last Saturday's showpiece game. Real Madrid have asked for answers on the series of unfortunate events. French President Emmanuel Macron said ticket holders who were blocked from entering the stadium by security staff must be reimbursed as fast as possible, and came to you in sports news.
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSP You Trust.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
The Colombo bourse turned its direction yesterday after 7 days of sliding amidst boosted investor confidence with regard to GOSL's measures on revenue generation to streamline economic concerns. Thus, the all-share price index increased to 34.8 points to close at 8,099.5, whilst the S&P SL20 index also increased by 16.3 points to close at 2,671.7. John Keel's Holdings, Expo Lanka Holdings, TJ Lanka, Richard Peris and Lanka IOC remained as the top positive contributors to the ASPI during the day, and came to you in business news. We look at economic news next.
Business News, sponsored by
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. Will you be the lucky winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee? 50 gold sovereigns for the top prize winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee. Scooters for the 10 second prize winners. iPhones for the 10 third prize winners. Mountain bikes for the 29 fourth prize winners. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSP You Trust.
Economic news, courtesy of
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
A memorandum of understanding was signed by the National Apprentice and Industrial Training Authority and the Australian government-funded Skills for Inclusive Growth program managed by Palladium. The MOU aligns with the collaboration agreement between the Government of Sri Lanka and the Australian High Commission in March 2022. The parties agreed to cooperate and work towards improving the tourism and hospitality enterprises through quality skills development, and came to you in economic news.
LOLC Finance is taking the power of innovation to the next level, winning 5 golds at the Technovation Awards 2022, leading the digital revolution with cutting-edge interbanking digital payments. LOLC Finance claims the overall gold award whilst also claiming an extraordinary victory in digital banking. LOLC Finance will continue to innovate with the next generation digital digitalization of financial services, delivering a superior customer experience.
On to the weather report. Showers or thundershowers will occur at times in the western and Sabragama provinces and in the Kandy, Nuwara, Gaul and Matara districts. Several spells of showers will occur in the northwestern province. Showers or thundershowers will occur at a few places in the Uva province and in the Ampara district during the evening or night. To conclude this bulletin of news, a recap of the headlines. The Prime Minister says the current agriculture shortages could be eased if swift action was taken to address the shortages faced by the farmers. Agreement among party leaders about the 21st Amendment. MP Rajitha Senaratna requests the government to facilitate the local production of medicines by only importing the necessary raw materials. The telecommunication tax that was increased recently has come into effect at midnight last night. Litrogas says that there will be no domestic LP gas distribution until further notice. The police have identified more than 5,200 vehicles which pump fuel several times a day. The African Union tells Vladimir Putin that hungry Africans are the victims of the Ukraine conflict. And UEFA apologizes to Liverpool and Real Madrid fans. That concludes this morning's news broadcast.